Frank J. Avella with the Contending. I'm thrilled to be speaking with the amazing Olivia Munn, who is doing Emmy-worthy work on the Apple TV Plus series Your Friends and Neighbors. Welcome, Olivia.
Wow, thank you so much. What a nice thing to say.
I mean it. I really do. And I
Oh,
love Sam. But first, I have to fanboy out for a minute because I loved you so much on the newsroom.
thank you so I see your DVD collection back there. That means a lot. That was a very special time in my life. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I miss Sloan. I miss the show. Can you get Sorkin to bring it back?
If you can get him to, if you just jump on this train with me, that would be really helpful. I have had lunches with him, texts with him, emails with him where I've said like, can we do this? I did have a lunch with him where I asked if he could just give me permission to go find like an executive producer or somebody to showrunner to help me do this, of course, with his blessing and him overseeing it. And he was like, "You don't want me to do it?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's the goal, but aren't you so busy?" And so I left that with a lot of hope, but that was years ago.
Mm.
So it's top of mind for me all the time. I
I
think
think,
if he got some journalistic pressure,
okay.
that would help.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make it a part of the article because we need him right now, you know?
I know. I asked him, I would just love to do like a Sloan spinoff and just see where she's at in the world and what she's doing. And I would love to do it. It's funny because I was just thinking about this last night because almost every time I've been asked, like I did that show, I started that show. My first season was 11 years ago, and it still feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
And in those 11 years, nothing has been even close to being my favorite project that I've ever worked on. Nothing it comes close to being second to Sorkin. It's like Sorkin, and then there's just a drop. And I've loved the stuff I've worked on, and I'm really proud of the stuff I've worked on. But just his level of writing, the producers, the editors, everybody involved, and the character that he gave for me to play. But I was thinking yesterday, I was like, this one has come in, and I think it just ties it right there. It's head to head, and I'm so grateful that Jonathan Tropper wrote this character, this world, and brought it to me because honestly, I was getting very comfortable saying like every time somebody bring up the newsroom, I'd say it's my favorite thing ever, and I thought that that's just how it would be until the end of time. So I'm really grateful that I finally been given something that feels as exciting as that.
And you have, and you're making it so she's such a nuanced character. And she becomes far more complicated as the season progresses.
Mhm. Have you seen the whole show yet or
I
not?
have, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that's the thing that I love the most about Sam was that in this very privileged, wealthy world, she wasn't born into this. And she has worked really hard in her life, but she married into this
Yeah.
and she manipulated the social strata and she has sacrificed a lot to get to where she is. And I really love the idea of interrogating the psyche in human nature when people have everything that they value taken away from them
Mm.
and what lengths they'll go to maintain that wealth and privilege and social station. And that's where we see Sam when we meet her. She's at the precipice of losing everything. And just to enter a character like that is so exciting. And there is a lot of conversations I have with Jonathan getting into this, and a lot of conversations I have with John Hamm about this, how our characters are interacting, and just like there's so much preparation into like playing someone who has to be presenting herself one way and then having so much turmoil um and what's the word? It's not just plotting going
Hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah. What one of the things I love most, well, I mean, I love so many different things about her, but she exists in this world, as you said, as basically an outsider who,
Mhm.
kind of married her way in. And it's so interesting to watch her no, with that knowledge,
Mhm.
knowing that she didn't come from privilege,
Mhm.
and she's a strong female and she had to work her way into where she is, and she has to, she has to keep herself where she is.
And I think that's the fun thing that I really latched onto was John Hamm's character. This is all he knows.
Yeah.
He's been set up to be successful and to live this life. And so there is no other life that he could even imagine living in. So this um, animal instinct of survival comes out in him. So we see that play out, and it's really fascinating. But with my character, she desperately wants to be in this world, but if she doesn't make it. She understands how to live her life somewhere else. So so I think that when you have, um, it's almost like there's nothing to lose for her to do everything she can to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I spoke to Lena a few days ago, and she
Mm.
was singing John Hamm's praises. So I was wondering if you had any mean things to say about him.
Ah,
Joking,
yeah,
but
actually,
talk
I
a little
don't.
bit. Sam and Coop have such great chemistry, so speak a little bit about working with him.
You know, I so it had been by that point 4.5 years since I had worked on anything, because 2019 was the last time I'd worked on anything. Then 2020 hits,
Yeah.
we've got the pandemic. 2021, I'm pregnant. 2022, I'm in the deep postpartum for the whole year. 2023, I'm diagnosed with breast cancer. And then here I am. And I remember my first like big scene with him. It was when I'm one of the earlier episodes. I can't remember which episode, but it's I'm walking into the country club and we have that long walk and talk. And and I was doing it a couple times. And I was kind of like I felt like I just kind of had like a hitch in my step. I was like kind of like this is like I'm not like I just felt like I wasn't getting it. I was maybe tripping over the lines a little bit, and I did it twice that way. And then John Hamm just took me to the side and was like, "Hey, like you got this. Like he knew what I had gone through, and we talked about it, and he just knew that, like, without even me saying it, he understood that I was like, man, can I like everything? It just felt like it wasn't like riding a bike at first, and then once he gave me that vote of confidence, I was like, wait, oh my gosh, yes, I can do this. I can do this, and I can do this. Like this is what I love to do, and I know how to do this. And then from that moment on, I never felt a glitch at all.
Mm, that's amazing. Yeah, when I spoke to Jonathan, we talked about these great female characters and how you guys bring them to life, and you have some great scenes, so many great scenes, but two in particular pop into my head. One
Mm.
is the judgy cosmetic woman,
Yeah,
and what you have to say to her. That must have been fun to film.
that was such a fun scene, and Natalie Buck, who plays opposite me, was fantastic. We met in the makeup trailer, and I just said like, hey, do you want to start running lines? And we did, and Jonathan's really great. His writing is fantastic, but he's also the kind of creator that says like, hey, let's come up with some stuff, or what do you want to bring to it? And so I said, like, hey, let's think of some stuff. And I remember Natalie was like, are we allowed to do that? I'm like, yeah, like if we bring something good, like they may use it. So we bonded really quick. And then I remember we were in the van on the way to set, and we just kept running it over and over. And we had a really great connection right away. And then in that store, it was just so much fun. We threw out lot of different options and jokes and little one-liners. And it was that scene is there's a few other scenes in this season, but if you remember, as a Newsroom fan, Newsroom season 1 episode 6, the Japanese tsunami, where Sorkin gives me the opportunity to do Sorkin dialogue in Japanese. That is my favorite acting opportunity I've ever been given. Just that scene. And I can't, I have to really kind of put that into a different, space. And so I can't really, nothing compares to that, truthfully, for me. But some of the scenes that Tropper has given me this season feel as satisfying as that. And that scene at the Blue Mercury cosmetic store is definitely left me with that feeling of like, wow, that was such a fun sparring round with this amazing actress. And it was that gave me that feeling.
The other one that just blew me away is in the last episode of the season, where I'm not going to give anything away, but it's a very revelatory monologue sequence.
Yes, the one, yes, yeah, I know which one you're talking about, and that was, Tropper. When I was offered the role, I got in a call with him, and I was given the first 2 episodes, but he was wanting to give me the whole scope of the season. And there was a line, he told me what it was going to be like, but he had already in his head, even though he hadn't written it yet, there was a line that he knew that he wanted to put in. And it was I'm trying to remember. So 6 words. It's a 6-word sentence. And it's all he had really needed to tell me for me to, like, I thought about that all season. I was so excited for that scene because it encompassed all of the feelings and everything that what she felt about herself in that world, what she felt about those people in that world. And man, that scene that you're talking about, that is the one that is closest to that episode of the Newsroom for me. And I would say it would stand alone in its own, like as the Newsroom would stand alone in its own, that scene stands alone in its own category to me, because there were such different performances and different intentions and different characters. But that, I'm so happy to hear you say that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's a stunner. It really is. I've watched it 3 times now. That
Oh my gosh,
particular.
Newsnight with Will McAvoy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't even have that shirt.
I would give it to you, but it's old. You don't want it.
Good. Still want it.
I think, we're talking about the Newsroom, and there's certain parallels with your friends and neighbors in terms of the satiricness. That's not a word, Frank, but I'm using it anyway. Of the piece, blended with this really cutting edge, authentic dialogue.
Yeah. I am amazed by these 2. It's when it is like, I wish I knew how they did it, but when you read the scripts with somebody like an Aaron Sorkin or a Jonathan Tropper, it's just clear. You get that with Tarantino as well. There are certain people where you're like, damn, how do they do it? Like, you're reading it and you understand every little element of it. And I know I hear a lot of actors, like in interviews and stuff, they talk about how they like to say they scribble out the stage directions in their scripts. Well, a lot of people love to say that. And with these great directors, like the ones I just mentioned, they're not wasting their time by writing that. It shows you a lot about the world, the character, how they're picturing everything, what it's supposed to look like on that day. It's not just about us embodying a character and putting out. We're trying to put a put something together that people will consume. And so it's a whole picture that needs to come together. And with, like I said, with a Sorkin, a Tarantino, with a Tropper, the writing is, it's unlike anything else. And then you read other scripts and you go, oh, you can really see the difference. And it's something that I don't think can be taught. I know people can read every, what is that? The cat book? What's that cat book?
Oh, you mean the
Save the cat.
Dr. Seuss? Oh, right. Yeah.
Save the cat.
Save the cat.
Like you can read Save the Cat, you can write them, but you're just either you have this thing or you don't. I just after reading so many scripts in my career, I'm just certain of that.
Is it true that you had auditioned for This Is Where I Leave You?
Yes, I did. I got it was a I got to test with Bateman on it. And from what I was told, it got down to myself and I think Rose Byrne who got it.
Yeah.
And which, whenever I auditioned for anything, there's a point when I was actually talking to Natalie Buck about this. She had reached out to me about a project that she'd been auditioning for and then sees on deadline that she didn't get it. And I had to say to her, the thing that I learned a long time ago was like, just do your best job in the audition and then you walk away satisfied because there's so many reasons why you may not get the role. And there's so many reasons why you do get the role. And that was one where I hadn't met Jason Bateman yet. Years later, I would end up being in a movie with him, Office Christmas Party. But he was so nice and Sean Levy was so nice. And I just felt really good about that. And but that moment was very specific for me in my like as an actor. I thought, oh my gosh, like I already felt that I had won. Just the fact that anybody knew who I was to ask me to come and read with Jason Bateman.
Was Tropper there? Like, did he remember you and call you in for this or no?
No, Tropper, from what he's told me, a big fan of the Newsroom, and then I'm friends with Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, and I was also a fan of Warrior, and she was like, "You should," because I, grew up doing martial arts, and I do martial arts, and then she was like, "Oh my gosh, you should be on Warrior," and I said, "Why didn't anybody think of this before?" I'm like, "Of course, I'm sitting right here, I'm waiting." And then she actually put me on a text with Tropper, and we just with life, we were meant to have coffee together, and it just never did. And then it was, what was that, 2022, and then was until like 2024 that he didn't reach out to me personally. He went through the right channels, and I got the call from the agent, and they were like, "Here, can we give you the number?" And I was like, "Wait." And I forgot about that coffee moment. And I was like, wait, I think I have, when she texted me this number, I was like, I already have this man's number and we've already texted. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, you have a journalism background, so I'm curious, when you were doing the newsroom, you know, did Sorkin run some things by you? Were you part of that creative process, or was it just what's on the page?
He had a lot of people consulting on that. So no, I didn't bring any of that. The one thing that I, the thing that I think really helped me get this job and the Daily Show, even though I was playing a fake reporter on that and then playing a real reporter on the Newsroom, was that because of my journalism background, because I wanted to report on the news and sports at the time, I I I I was being the kind of reporter that I thought I would be, and I think um, Jon Stewart had told me this once. He said, he's like, when a lot of people were auditioning for his show, I didn't audition. He had seen something that I had done, but because I was like, why? How me? Like, how did this happen? And he's like, well, I see a lot of people coming through auditioning and I get their tapes. He's like, but everyone is acting like people who have acted like journalists on TV. He's like, so everyone's doing like a mimic of an actor mimicking a journalist. He's like, and so he's like, you just have your own thing. He's like, you're just acting like you're doing whatever it is your thing is. And so I think that that's the biggest asset that I had to bring to this role was to be what I think is a very believable journalist, because it was grounded in journalists that I was around, journalists that taught me, journalists that I interned for, people that I look up to. I really look up to Diane Sawyer. I think she's amazing. And a lot of her aesthetic is what I leaned into for that. If you notice on that show, I didn't wear flashy jewelry. I wore not nice designer clothes, but were not flashy. We're very tailored um, and understated and sophisticated. I really love how Diane Sawyer has nothing distracts from the stories that she's telling and the
Mm.
things that she's saying. That was really important for me.
Well, I'm so grateful to get an opportunity to speak with you. I know you guys are working on season 2 now. S-
Yeah.
So excited about that.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm also grateful that you're working again and you're well. So I just want to say
oh,
that.
thank you so much, Frank. That's so nice of you.
You're welcome. And my final pitch, you and Jane Fonda can carry the newsroom into the next phase. How does that sound?
I would love nothing more than that. She is the best. I mean, look, I mean, I've thought about it a lot. I feel like Sloan no longer works at ACN, and now she can she goes off with Jane Fonda, maybe creates a new network,
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah. Oh, it sounds great. Listen,
Well, you keep pushing it. You tell your other journalist friends, push it
I
out there for us.
I will enjoy this time and can't wait to speak with you again.
Yeah, me too. Hey, thanks for all the kind words. You really made me feel really good today. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's heartfelt.
Oh, it means a lot. All right. Bye.
Bye.